Geralt of Rivia is not easily impressed. He spent his whole life cutting through legends, proving that most so-called ancient horrors are just hungry beasts with good press. To him, golden dragons are exactly that. A pretty story. A biological impossibility. Something bards invented because reality wasn't spectacular enough. And then he meets a man in a cheap roadside tavern, older, well dressed, but not flashy, flanked by two Zerrikanian warriors who never speak. He calls himself Borch Three Jackdaws. He buys the drinks, he pays for the rooms. He laughs at the danger in a way that makes even a witcher feel slightly on edge. He claims he's just looking for one last bit of excitement before old age catches up. Geralt doesn't know it yet, but this stranger is not what he seems. He isn't a frightened innkeeper or a bored noble slumming it on the road. He's something every ballad insists cannot exist. In the days that follow, this man will walk among dragon hunters as one of them, without a single spell hiding his scent or heartbeat. Step between mortals and the dragon to protect it, instead of killing it, and look Geralt and Yennefer in the eye to tell them a future they don't want to hear. Not as a prophet, not as a mage. Just as someone who has watched centuries go by and recognizes the pattern. His true name is Villentretenmerth. In Elder speech it means 3 jackdaws. He is one of only 2 golden dragons ever recorded on the continent. And unlike every other dragon Geralt meets, he doesn't just survive the age of men. He judges it. To understand Villentretenmerth, you first have to understand what golden dragons even are. In Witcher lore, dragons are already rare. Red dragons like Keltullus are hunted to the edge of extinction. Green dragons hide in remote mountains and deep forests. Black dragons are aggressive, territorial, and usually kill the young. But golden dragons sit in a completely different category. They are not just rare, they are impossible. When Geralt first hears about the golden dragon, he dismisses it outright. He's a witcher. He's seen Kikimo queens, giant centipedes, ancient vampires. He knows how far nature can stretch. But a dragon that can change its form at will? A creature that can become human without illusion? Without chaos magic? Without leaving a trace for sorcerers to detect? To Geralt, that's not just unlikely. It breaks the rules. Golden dragons are described as biological impossibilities. Beings that simply shouldn't exist in a world that obeys natural law. And yet, according to every record we have, there are exactly 2 of them. Villentretenmerth and his daughter, Saskia, better known in the games as Saskia the Dragonslayer. 2 creatures on an entire continent, but their rarity is only half the point. What really sets golden dragons apart isn't how many of them there are, it's what they choose to do with the power they have. When Geralt first meets Borch Three Jackdaws, nothing about him screams dragon. He looks like a man in his 50s, well fed, comfortable, the kind of person who has seen enough of the world to stop being impressed by it. He's accompanied by 2 Zerrikanian warriors, Tear and Wear, beautiful, deadly, silent. Borch calls them his weapons. They never leave his side, and they follow his commands without question, not because they are slaves, but because they know exactly what he is. Borch is charming. He buys drinks, tells stories, and casually drops talks about justice, fate, and the value of a good death. He feels less like a lord hiring a witcher, and more like a man quietly taking the measure of everyone around him. Even Yennefer, one of the most powerful sorceresses on the continent, doesn't sense anything unusual about him. And that's the point. Villentretenmerth's polymorphism isn't a simple illusion. It's not a glamour that a mage can see through. It's not a projection. It's a complete physical transformation. Heartbeat, scent, bones, blood, everything. When he becomes Borch Three Jackdaws, he is Borch Three Jackdaws. There's no spell to dispel, no true form shimmering underneath. He is, in every measurable way, a human. Until he decides not to be. The story that forces Villentretenmerth to reveal himself begins with a poisoned green dragon, Myrgtabrakke. She has been spotted near Bearfield, wounded, dying, and rumored to be guarding a treasure hoard. Word spreads fast. Within days, half a dozen factions gather to claim the dragon and her gold. There is Prince Nidaamir, chasing glory. The Crimfreed Reavers professional dragon hunters with more scars than patience. Jarpen Siegrin and his dwarves marching in disciplined formation. Dorogare, a mage who believes dragons should be studied, not slaughtered. Yennefer of Wengerberg, drawn in by politics and curiosity. And Geralt, who's only there because Yennefer is. And then there is Borch. He joins the expedition with Ter and Wea at his side, claiming he wants one last daring adventure before his joints give out. No one takes him seriously, but Borch isn't there to hunt. He's there to guard, not the humans, the dragon. Myrgtabrakke isn't just some random dragon that wandered too close to humans. She's Villentretenmerth's former mate. She's dying, not from battle, not from age, but from a poisoned sheep left out by villagers who decided it was easier to cheat than to fight. The poison tears through her system, but it doesn't kill her instantly. She has just enough strength left to do one thing: to protect her offspring. She lays her eggs, hides them as best she can, and waits. Villentretenmerth knows exactly what a dragon hunt looks like. He knows the hunters will reach her lair, he knows they'll kill her if she's still breathing, and he knows they'll smash the eggs without thinking twice. Because of them, fewer dragons means a safer world. So he walks among them. He listens to their plans. He watches them argue over who gets the biggest share of a treasure that no longer exists. And when the time comes, he's already decided who deserves to walk away. The hunt goes wrong. A landslide rips through the path. Boulders crash down the slope. The entire group is almost swept off the mountain. In the confusion, Borch and the Zircanians vanish. One moment they are there, the next they are gone. Most of the hunters assume they died. Later, on the heights above Myrgtabrakke's lair, they learn how wrong they were. A dragon appears, not green, not red, not black, golden. In the books, he's described as almost feline in his movements, powerful but graceful in a way that doesn't fit in the usual image of a reptile. He doesn't roar, he doesn't immediately attack, he simply stands on the ridge above them, between the hunters and the lair below, and he gives them a choice. Villentretenmerth doesn't speak in some incomprehensible dragon tongue. He speaks clearly, he tells them the truth. Myrgtabrakke was his mate. There's no treasure. She spent it years ago. The only thing left in the cave is a newborn dragon, his child. So he gives the hunters a choice. Turn back now and live, or stay and face him in a fair fight. No ambush in the dark, no fire from above while they sleep, no poison in the food. A real battle. It's more honor than any of them would ever have shown their dragon. Most of the groups decide they have seen enough. Glory isn't worth a golden dragon. But there's always one exception. In this story, the exception is Eyck of Denesle, a knight, a self-proclaimed dragonslayer, a man who has built his entire identity on the idea that killing monsters makes the world safer. He sees a dragon and stops listening. It doesn't matter that this one talks. It doesn't matter that it's offered mercy. To Eyck, there's only one truth. Dragons are evil. Dragons must die. So he charges. Villentretenmerth could kill him in a heartbeat. One swipe of his claw and Eyck will be nothing but blood on the rocks. Instead, the golden dragon does something else. He doesn't roar, he doesn't grapple. He doesn't even swing a claw. He simply moves. At the last possible movement, Villentretenmerth twists aside with a speed no horse and the lance can match. Eyck, locked into his perfect, righteous charge, has no way to stop. He thunders past empty air, loses control, and vanishes over the edge of the ridge. Horse, armor, lance, and all, tumbling down the mountainside and out of the fight. Villentretenmerth never even has to touch him. It's a message. You were never a threat to me. Your charge only ever endangered yourself. Villentretenmerth isn't just stronger than Eyck, he's above his entire way of thinking. After the confrontation, Villentretenmerth doesn't gloat. He thanks those who refused to raise a hand against him. He acknowledges Dorogare, who argued that dragons deserve to live. And then he turns to Geralt and Yennefer, two people who have spent this entire hunt circling each other, drawn together, pulled apart by pride, fear, and stubbornness. Villentretenmerth looks at them with the calm of someone who has seen entire empires rise and fall. And he tells them something they don't want to hear. He tells them their relationship won't last, not because they don't care about each other, but because they want different things from life. Because they are both too proud. because love alone isn't enough to fix what the world has already done to them. He doesn't say it cruelly. He says it like someone who has watched the same story play out 100 times. For Geralt, who lives in the present and tries not to think too far ahead, it's an intrusion. For Yennefer, who believes in bending fate to her will, it's an insult. But Villentretenmerth has no reason to lie. He's not trying to manipulate them. He's simply telling them the patterns he sees, and then he leaves. He takes the hatchling, says sentences, and disappears into the wilderness. He raised her with the same values he tried to show the hunters: restraint, justice, and a kind of warrior respect for the short-lived beings who keep trying to rule the world. The next time we meet his bloodline, it's in the form of Saskia, a dragon who chooses to fight for a free state rather than rule from a horde. But that's another story. Villentretenmerth's story isn't just dragon shows up, humans panic. It's a story about power that refuses to dominate. Villentretenmerth is one of the most dangerous beings on the continent. He can melt stone, he can swat knights off cliffs, he can walk through human politics without anyone realizing he's in the room. And yet, he chooses to live as Borch, a middle-aged man who laughs loudly, tips generously, and travels with two deadly companions because he enjoys their company. He doesn't demand tribute, he doesn't carve out a kingdom. He doesn't try to remind humans who really owns the mountains. He watches, he listens, and when he finally acts, it's to protect a dying mate and a newborn child, not to add another pile of treasure to a hoard. If Keltoris shows us what happens when the humans betray a dragon, Villentretenmerth shows us what happens when a dragon wastes humanity and finds it complicated. He sees the greed, the cowardice, the usual cruelty of a dragon hunt. He also sees people like Doragari and even Geralt, who are willing to risk something for a different outcome. He has the power to wipe them all out. Instead, he separates them. He humbles the ones who came for slaughter. He spares the ones who showed restraint. He warns two people he barely knows about the future heartbreak they're not ready to face. Villentretenmerth isn't a hero in shining armor, but he also isn't a mindless force of nature. He's something Witcher lore doesn't give us very often. An ancient, almost divine creature who could rule by fear and simply chooses not to. He's a test for knights who think honor comes from killing anything stronger than them. A test for mages who treat living beings like research material. A test for a witcher and a sorceress who both believe the world is too cruel to allow them something as simple as a lasting relationship. He could have stayed in the mountains, watching from a distance as humans decide the fate of a poisoned dragon and her child. Instead, he walks down into a tavern, ordered a drink, and sat right in the middle of the story. That's what makes Villentretenmerth so interesting. He's not there to conquer the world. He's there to understand it, to push it, to see one more time what kind of choices mortals will make when they finally realize something impossible is watching. If you stayed with me all the way to the end of the story, thank you. It means dragons like Villentretenmerth still live in someone's mind, and in a world that keeps trying to forget creatures like him, that's already a kind of magic.